Welcome back to the Liam Talks EFL channel. Today we're back with another rankings video. Today, as you can tell by the title, we're ranking every Championship club's best signing of the summer transfer window. There's a whole host of good signings in the Championship this summer, and it was a very tough job to pick every team's best signing. So before we get going into today's ranking video, make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. We've hit 1,000 subscribers, so I cannot thank you enough for that. Let's try and hit 250 likes on today's video, and let's get talking about signings. Blackburn Rovers' Yuki Ohashi. Now, I've probably butchered that name. Now, he's a 28-year-old striker who spent his whole career previously before signing for Blackburn in the J-League over in Japan, scoring 31 goals in 2 seasons. He made the switch over to the Championship for Blackburn Rovers, and he has hit the ground running immediately with 4 goals in all competitions. This could be a signing to look out for, a striker of course, so could we expect to see a double-digit season? He's had a great start already, and could he solve that goal void that they've lost in Sammy Smodics with Ohashi? Bristol City, Luke McNally. Now, he's a young defender who's had some really impressive spells on loan at some clubs in the Championship previously. You might remember him from his time at Stoke City, Coventry City. He's still relatively young, and to get him on a 4-year contract like Bristol City have done, in my opinion, is a very good buy. Of course, you're not signing him blindly. He's proven that he's Championship quality with those own spells at Stoke City and Coventry, so he's got a new challenge, a fresh start of course on a 4-year contract. He'll be settled down in Bristol. Yeah, I think this is a very good signing. Burnley, I've gone for Hannibal. Now, probably one of the most well-known names on this list, of course, being a former Manchester United youngster. Broke through in the first team a couple of seasons ago, had a stint in the first team, scored a goal as well. I think this is another signing that could be a big one for Burnley, of course. Coming down from the Premier League last season, we've seen the overhaul that they've had with multiple players departing the club. They've brought Hannibal in, and I think he's going to be a key asset, a great bit of business. Of course, he had that loan spell at Sevilla last season where he did play 6 games, didn't really kick on, but you know, he showed some promising signs for United, and I think Hannibal needed a permanent move away. At 21 years old, you don't really want to be having these loan spells here and there, so he's got that challenge at Burnley. He'll be in a team that's pushing for promotion, he'll get game time. The fans seem to love him already, so yeah, what a good bit of business this was. Cardiff City, I've gone for Alex Robertson. Now, this might be a different and rogue shout to whatever you might be saying at home, especially Cardiff City fans, but this is a signing that I really like. Of course, we saw Robertson last season in League One for Portsmouth, had a really promising start to the season. Of course, suffered that hamstring injury and then missed the remainder of the season. There was some real talent in Alex Robertson, and there still is, and you know, he showed some really promising signs in a promotion-winning Portsmouth side. And to be honest, I think he was destined for that Championship move after showing some really good signs for them. He's got it with Cardiff City, of course. Cardiff have not had a good start to the season. However, I do think Alex Robertson will come in clutch and will be a good player for them this season going ahead. Of course, they've signed him on a 4-year deal for a fee less than £1 million. Could this turn out to be one of the biggest bargains in the Championship this season? I definitely have belief that Robertson could kick on and be a big player for Cardiff City. Coventry City, now I've gone for Louis Binks. Now, this is one that I'm sure Cov fans will have definitely wanted throughout the summer, and one that they'll be very happy with. Now, Binks had a really good loan spell at Coventry last season, of course, standing out in that back line, and he has made the move permanent from Bologna. Of course, he had that loan spell at Como, and then up to Coventry City in the Championship, and he's made it a permanent one, of course. Like we've seen, he's had a good season last year. He started off this season even better. Derby County, Kenzo Goodman. I've probably butchered that name, but I think he definitely adds that Championship quality to what Derby County were looking for. Of course, fresh off a promotion, that step up from League One to the Championship is definitely going to be tough for Derby County. They definitely needed to change their style of recruitment, bring more possibly younger players in, which they've done in Kenzo here, and they needed that quality if they do want to survive. And he's had a good start to the season. Of course, we saw him last year in the Eredivisie. He had a good season. He's come over to Derby County. He's got 2 goals. And, you know, I think he could be a really good player going forward. There's always these gems that you find here and there, and I think Derby County might have got theirs. Hull City, Stephen Alzate. Now, he signed on a free, of course, and we haven't seen Alzate play for Hull City yet, but we can sort of gather what this signing is going to be. It is a very good signing. He is a proven Premier League player with Brighton and Hove Albion. He's had 2 good seasons at Standard Liège over in Belgium, and, you know, like I said, he possesses that Premier League quality and experience, so I think this is an addition that Hull City needed to their midfield, and one that will add quality, experience, and possibly push them up even further from where they finished last season. Leeds United, Joe Rodon. Now, probably being a Welshman, I'm probably going to be a bit biased on this one, but we all know this is the signing that every Leeds fan did want. He was loved by the fans. He had a really successful spell last season, playing 50 games across all competitions, playing all 46 championship games with an average rating of 7.2. So this is definitely a signing Leeds fans wanted. They secured the permanent services of Rodon, and he probably could have got a Prem move thinking in hindsight. You know, he had a really solid season at Leeds, who pushed and got very close to that Premier League status, but missing out in the playoff final. So I think this is a very good bit of business from Leeds, and a player that could play a big role in the future years ahead. Luton Town, Mark McGuinness. Now, this is a big loss for Cardiff City, of course, as he was just slowly developing into a good player in their backline down in South Wales, but Luton Town have snatched him up. This is going to be a signing that's, you know, for the future project of Luton Town. Of course, once Luton start getting results, I think Mark McGuinness will be playing a big role in that. We've seen him start a couple of games here and there. He's slowly just getting into the routine, getting settled into the environment at Luton Town. So I think this will be a good signing, you know, as time goes on. Middlesbrough, Tommy Conway. Now, there were a lot of questions asked over Conway's future this summer, and it was Middlesbrough that poached him up. We've seen Tommy Conway at Bristol City. You know, he's had a really successful season. Being just 22 years old, he's gained a whole array of championship experience at such a young age and stage in his career, and I can see him really developing under Michael Carrick. I think we could be seeing another 10 plus goal from him. I think this could be a bit of business that might have gone under the radar so far, because, you know, he scored goals in the Championship, and he has done since he signed for Bristol City. So if they can get the best out of Tommy Conway, they could have, you know, like I said, a double-digit striker on the cards, which shouldn't really be a surprise. Millwall, Japhet Tanganga. Now, I'm surprised that he did actually make the move permanent back to Millwall. Of course, we saw him have that good loan spell at the Championship side last season, and I think, you know, he'll be one of the standout players for Millwall. You know, he had the faith put in him by Antonio Conte, previous managers at Tottenham, and he always seemed to play a bit of a role in the Tottenham squad, and, you know, to get him down in the Championship at Millwall, he'll be a big player to come in the future years, and, you know, like I said, he'll be a good player as they look to push on even further this season. Norwich City, Callum Doyle. Now, for me, I've got an opinion on Callum Doyle. I was talking about it earlier on in the summer, and he's a player that, you know, we've always been aware of, and I think now was the summer to get Callum Doyle a permanent move away from Man City. You know, he's got that loan move to Norwich. Don't get me wrong, it's a brilliant signing for Norwich. You know what you're going to get with Callum Doyle, but in my opinion, I think a permanent move was needed. Could this indicate slightly that Man City might see him as part of their plans? Could he have that one more loan spell to prove himself and come back and be a player under Pep Guardiola? I really don't know, but we've seen him. He's had good spells at Coventry, at Leicester City, and now he's at Norwich. He's a consistent performer week in, week out, and clearly a player to look out for this season. Oxford United, Siriki Dembele. Now, I think Dembele obviously needed that step back up to the Championship after getting relegated with Birmingham City. He's a Championship quality player. He's had spells in France. There's a tidy project going on under Des Buckingham, and I think he could have a big role to play, and that'll be a key asset for Oxford United this season. Like I said, there's a good player and there's a good quality player in Siriki Dembele, and let's see if they can get the best out of him. Plymouth Argyle, Ibrahim Sissoko. Now, Sissoko's had a really good start to the season. I'm sure Plymouth fans will have already shown a love for him. You know, some important performances against Sunderland, against Hull City. He's one of Wayne Rooney's better signings in the transfer window, and one of his standout players so far. You know, like I said, he's shown some promising signs. I do believe he is on loan though, so whether that loan move will turn a permanent come the end of the season, we don't know. He showed some really promising signs so far for Argyle. Portsmouth, Jordan Williams. Now, I think this was a deserved move for Williams to make that step up to the Championship after two really good seasons for Barnsley. He's had an okay start to the season in the Championship, but I think as the season goes on, he'll develop back into the Championship. Of course, he's played in there before. He knows the challenge of staying up in the division, and I think he's had a couple of relegations under his belt, but, you know, he's going to be a good player. He's still developing, and I think he could be a really key asset for Portsmouth this season. Preston North End, Sam Greenwood. Now, I'm not really overly impressed by Preston's transfer window. I think there's a lot of mediocre signings, and like I said, I think Greenwood is the pick of the bunch of some very average signings. Of course, you know, a team doesn't always need to go out and spend a lot of money, but in Preston's instance, you know, losing Ryan Lowe in the situation they've had, they're not doing very well in the league so far, and you look at their signings, to think that Greenwood is the pick of the bunch, it's not ideal. Of course, I think Paul Heckingbottom will be looking at the January transfer window already and thinking of names they could bring into the club, but, you know, I think he could be an asset to Preston throughout the season. We've seen him at Middlesbrough. He's had a couple of goal contributions last year. I'm not overly convinced. QPR, Karamoko Dembele. If anyone remembers the hype around this guy when he was at Celtic at like 14, 13 years old, you know, he was destined to be the next coming of Lionel Messi. He's not kicked on as well as people thought, but in my opinion, he's adapted to English football really, really well. He had that loan spell at Blackpool last season. QPR, of course, won the race to sign Karamoko Dembele. He's put in a couple of really good performances performances so far in the Championship, and I think that'll be the case for the rest of the season, and I'd like to see him carry on because we've known about this guy for years and years now. Sheffield United, Harrison Burrows. Again, this might be a rogue shout, but Burrows is an absolute gem. This might be the Football Manager coming out of me, but he was a big talent at Peterborough. He scored something like 12 goals last season. You know, he showed some really promising signs. He's at such a young age, and you know, he's 22 years old. He cemented himself as that starter in Sheffield United's backline in that left back spot. He's cemented himself as a starter in a team that is going to push for promotion. They're playoff destined, if not promotion destined this season, and Burrows has slotted into that left back role really well. We knew he was Championship quality. It was a question as to who was going to sign him. Sheffield United won the signature for Harrison Burrows, and I think there's no better place to continue his development. Sheffield Wednesday, Jan Valery. Now, I did actually watch Jan Valery against Plymouth Argyle on one of the opening games of the season, and I thought he looked really good, a very attacking minded player, and you know, one that we know the quality of from Southampton. He showed some really good signs there. He of course made that move over to France, and it's a fresh start for him back over in England, and I think this could be a really big bit of business. Stoke City, Eric Bocat. I've probably butchered that name. It's probably like a silent T or something, but I've been very impressed with his start to the season. He seems to have adapted really well into that left back spot, you know, taken on with some confidence, with some really standout performances coming against Coventry City and West Bromwich Albion. I think this is probably one of the standout defender signings of the summer, if I'm being honest. Sunderland, Alan Brown. Now, it's a good signing on a free transfer, of course. Brown is someone that carries a wealth of Championship experience. After spending well over a decade at Preston North End, he's spent his whole career at the Lancashire side, and he's finally made that move away. It's still a question as to whether Alan Brown will be that consistent starter for Sunderland in the upcoming season, but a good signing nonetheless if you're going to be using him as a squad player, and that might highlight the depth that Sunderland have in that midfield if they're able to rotate between Alan Brown, Neil, etc. Swansea City, Goncalo Franco. Now, he's been playing in that defensive midfield role alongside Matt Grimes, and there's no better player to be, you know, learning the English game alongside than Matt Grimes, who carries a wealth of experience. He's 23 years old, he's Portuguese, he's made that move over to England like a lot of these players for the very first time, and I think he looks like he could be a really tidy player, and Luke Williams has shown a lot of faith in him early on. He started the first games of the season up until the present day, so could he be a key asset for Swansea City going forward this season? 23 years old, could there be a high resale value in Franco if he does have a successful season this year? Watford, Moussa Sissoko. Now, this is a very good signing. They did well to bring him back, of course, when they last had him there in the Premier League, and now they've signed him in the Championship. 35 years old, it just proves that age is just a number. He's hit the ground running immediately with some really good performances. He is a more than Championship quality player. On his days, you know, he's one of the most underrated Premier League midfielders, and we know what he's going to bring to that Watford midfield. Quality, experience to this squad, and they've had a really successful start to the season, and Sissoko has played a huge part in that. And could Moussa Sissoko play a role in Watford's return back up to the Premier League at 35 years old? Last but not least, West Bromwich Albion, Mikey Johnston. I love this signing. I'm a big fan of Johnston, of course, from his Celtic days. He had a good loan spell at West Brom last season with 7 goals, and you know, it was a question of to whether he would sign for them on a permanent deal. He's had pre-season with Celtic, he started one of their games this season, but you know, he's made that permanent move to West Brom. The fans love him there. He's a tricky winger, and I think he'll better his stats than last season. I'm going to say it. I think Mikey Johnston will get more goals than he recorded last season on his loan spell. And so far, so good for West Brom. So could Johnston come in and guide West Brom back up to a return to the Premier League? One of the OG members of the Barclays. So yeah, that is it for today's video. If you did enjoy, make sure to drop a like. As well, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and let me know, do you disagree with me? If your club is on this list, let me know who your club's best signing was from this transfer window. Until then, I'll see you in another video. Take care, guys.